Turn heads and bring the hype with a custom hype chain from Lotwin. Perfect for youth sports, fantasy football, or just flexing your pride. Go to Lotwin.com, use the promo code TCCPOD for 10% off your order. That's Lotwin.com, promo code TCCPOD for 10% off. Get your custom hype chain and get hype with Lotwin. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for December 18th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast. Let's get right into it. So let's start with the Eagles gearing up for the big game against the Commanders on Saturday. The old hat and t-shirt game where the division is on the line. They could end it before the Cowboys even play on Sunday, which is good. But new Brotherly Birds breakdown did drop last night. Colin and I talk about that, the Raiders game, as well as look ahead to what to expect for this Commanders game. That is available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. From an injury perspective, going to find out a lot today. A lot of guys did not practice, but some of them are expected to play. Fred Johnson said he was going to play. Lane did not practice. He's probably coming back either this week or next. Again, today is going to tell a lot. Jalen Carter probably won't play. But speaking of Lane, on Hard Knocks this week, dude is a beast. If you haven't watched it yet, I highly suggest watching just to see his workout. The fact that he is that big and can knock out 60 pull-ups like it's his job is outstanding. So big that he's able to be coming back soon. I think a lot of, as the dust has settled from the Raiders, I do think it's important to understand, yes, it was the Raiders, but the fact that the team did exactly what they needed to do and the way they did it. So that's what I want to see from the play calling. There was a lot of talk about Scott Loeffler being more involved with the offense. I don't know if you saw, there's a clip going around Twitter where it shows a play he ran at Bowling Green that looked exactly like one of the shovel passes from Sunday. That's the kind of things we need to keep the offense guessing, because it's not predictable. And now defenses need to look at other things, including possibly even Bowling Green tape now to prepare for the Eagles. So things are looking good for them going into this home stretch. Looking forward to it. Jalen, by the way, was not on the injury report, so it's a moot point that we should sit him against the Commanders due to the injury. And I think it was a bad idea anyway. You need to keep that offense rolling and go. But hopefully we get good news on the injury front today. But I do recommend watching the Hard Knocks. The Lane thing was outstanding. And it really is interesting. Whether or not it's watered down and scripted or whatever you want to call it, it is interesting to kind of see some of the things behind the scenes and just the relationships and the interactions that you don't get to see, because it sure seems like they get along much better than what the perception is in the media. Again, whether it's fake or whatever, or watered down, that's fine. But it is good to see that. And specifically the AJ and Jalen thing, who they celebrated on the field the other day, but they don't like each other. But we break all of that down on the Brotherly Birds breakdown, but I'll have more on the injury front. Fingers crossed that we get some good news today, as this is essentially the Eagles' Friday practice due to the Saturday game. They'll probably travel down to D.C. at some point tomorrow. So go Birds. Flyers are in action tonight up in Buffalo. They'll be without Tyson Forrester for probably the rest of the season, unless they go on an improbable Eastern Conference final or Stanley Cup final run. Had arm surgery. Everything went well, but it's still a 5-month recovery. So it puts him out till the Stanley Cup. So maybe they can get a little bit of a boost for the Stanley Cup if they can go on a surprise run. but they are in Buffalo tonight to take on the Sabres. We have some Phillies news, and excuse me, after being disappointed with Dave Dombrowski and essentially saying the outfield is set, again, it still doesn't do anything for me. They did make a move for the bullpen, signing Brad Keller, who pitched last year for the Cubs, to a 2-year, $22 million deal. Coming off a really good year, almost like a breakout year. And we'll kind of see what happens with that, as relievers are a very fickle bunch. You can come off of one great season and then suck the next. So we'll see what happens. I mean, we've seen it so many times last year with Jordan Romano. So hopefully this is not Romano 2.0, who I think I saw Romano sign with the Angels, so we don't have to deal with him. I don't think the Phillies are done, but they're in an interesting spot right now where they're trying to, not far from where the Sixers were this year, where they're trying to balance the old guys, the vets, the quote-unquote stars, with an infusion of young talent. So it's going to be interesting to see how the two mix, because do they have a window? Yeah, I guess the window is slightly open right now. It's going to be tough to beat the Dodgers, but if guys like Crawford, Aiden Miller comes up, Andrew Painter, these guys we've been hearing about for 2-3 years now, it's time for them to come up and contribute. And if they can, we saw it with the Red Sox last year, calling guys up who contributed. This team could be dangerous, so we'll see. But I do like the addition of Brad Keller. Hopefully, again, as relievers tend to be fickle, we get the good fickle from Brad Keller this year. All right, be sure to follow me on social media at Philly Jimbo on all platforms. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Like, subscribe, review, comment, all that other good stuff. I enjoy, believe it or not, even the haters interacting on all the social media. So please, let's comment. The more interactions we have, the more this thing grows. Same with the Brotherly Birds Breakdown. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you should have gotten a notification late last evening that it was posted. So go check that out either on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on YouTube. All right, yesterday's trivia question. We talked about the Kangaroo Kid, Billy Cunningham, getting his number retired. He spent his entire NBA career with the Sixers, did spend 2 years in the ABA, winning the ABA MVP in 1973. I asked you, who did he win it for? That was the old Carolina Cougars. Billy C won the MVP for the Cougars. Never heard of them. Okay with some of my ABA teams, but I did not know the Carolina Cougars. All right, today's random act of kindness. This one, very easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle, but talk to someone at work that you usually don't talk to. Maybe someone from a different department. One of my favorite things when I worked in a school building, and even when, for my current position, when I worked in the office, sometimes you get up and you need something, you stop by the attendance office and talk to the attendance team or the records team or the special ed team or whoever. And I think things like that go a long way. So talk to someone that you usually don't talk to, even on the train, while you're waiting for the bus or kids' sporting practice or something. And it goes a long way. It makes you feel better, kind of breaks up the other person's day. You never know what they're doing. And you never know how it's going to get paid back to you. So some of those relationships I made in the main office when I was working there, I'm still able to cash in on today. I know that's kind of a bad way to put it. But if I need something from one of those departments because I spent time talking with them, interacting with them, they're like, sure, Jim, I can get that for you. So just talk to someone at work who you usually don't talk to today. Spread a little bit of joy, smile, whatever. It's so close to the holiday season. We're a week away from Christmas. Hanukkah has started. Kwanzaa is coming up. So just try to be happy today. Headed down the shore, skip the hassle. Let Beach Caddy handle the heavy lifting. Bellhop and beach cart rentals are available in Ocean City, Sea Isle, Avalon, Stone Harbor, and Wildwood. Use the promo code JIMBO for 10% off bellhop and cart rentals. Beach Caddy takes the stress out of your Jersey Shore trip. Go to beachcaddy.app, use the promo code Jimbo for 10% off your move-in, move-out bellhop service and beach cart rentals. Best beach carts at the Jersey Shore. All right, December 18th. First, we're going to hop in the Wayback Machine and go back to 1949. And on this day in 1949, the Eagles were appearing in their third straight NFL championship game. They traveled out to LA to take on the Rams. They did so by train because head coach Greasy Neal did not like to fly. So he made the team take a train from Philly to LA. They made a layover in Chicago, did a practice and a workout while they were there, spent the night, and got back on the train to head to LA. This game was played in a driving rainstorm, which made the field an absolute muddy mess. But Pete Pios was able to catch a 31-yard touchdown reception. I knew I was going to pronounce this wrong. Leo Scaladini blocked a punt, returned it 2 yards for a touchdown for the only two scores as the Eagles win their second consecutive NFL championship, 14-0 over the Rams out in L.A. Steve Van Buren rushed the ball 31 times for 196 yards, giving the Eagles to date, if you count all of those NFL championships, 5 total championships. So I think now that we've won the Super Bowl and we've won 2 of them, we can start including some of those old school NFL championships in our total. Hell, if the Yankees are going to say we have 27 and they haven't won one since God knows when, we can at least add those 2 from the 40s and 1 from 1960. But on this day, Eagles win their second straight NFL championship, beating the Rams 14-0. Steve Van Buren, 196 yards. Leo Scaladini had a block punt return for a touchdown, and Pete Pios with a 31-yard touchdown reception. Fast forward all the way to 1986. Flyers beat the Islanders 9-4 at the Spectrum. Dave Poulin had a hat trick and added an assist. It was the last hat trick of his career. Tim Kerr, though, also got into the action with a hat trick himself. So we had the whole double hat trick for the Flyers. Excuse me. It was Tim Kerr's 12th of his career as the Flyers beat the Islanders 9-4. Dave Poulin and Tim Kerr both with the hat tricks on this day. And then 2 years later, it was the last day of the NFL season. The Eagles had 3 options on the table. No playoffs, and a division title. Well, they took care of their business down in Dallas, beating the Cowboys 23-7. Randall threw for 2 touchdowns to Keith Jackson and 1 to Mike Quick to clinch the playoff spot on the field. Wes Hopkins added 2 interceptions. Reggie White had 2 sacks to give him 18 on the year, a year after having 21 in 12 games, which is incredible. After the game, of course, Buddy Ryan was up to doing Buddy Ryan things. Asked if the crowd was intense against the Eagles, but asked if it was satisfying or however it was worded to beat the Cowboys down in Dallas. Buddy, who are the Cowboys? We beat them every time we play them. Gotta love Buddy. And we can thank him for the Eagles-Cowboys rivalry the way it is right now. But as this game ended, moments later, Al Toon caught a touchdown with 37 seconds left for the New York Jets to put them in the lead and give them the win over the Giants 27-21 due to the tiebreaker because the Eagles beat the Giants both times that year. Eagles win the division, get to the playoffs in Buddy's 3rd year. They had an easy side of the draw, drawing either Chicago or San Francisco, depending on how the later games went. And then drawing probably Chicago or San Francisco again, or Minnesota, who was big then. But we all know how that, we don't need to talk about that. But on this day in 1988, Eagles win the division thanks to beating the Cowboys and then the Jets upsetting the Giants with 37 seconds left. Buddy, of course, and the Eagles. I remember this well as a kid. I was over the moon, ecstatic, excited about it. And then in 2004, Sixers go up to Milwaukee, beat the Bucks 116-97. Allen Iverson dropped 54 points. Samuel Dallenberg had 15 rebounds. Unfortunately for the Sixers, it was kind of the beginning of the end for the Allen Iverson era Sixers that season. They would be the 7th seed and lose to the Pistons in the first round. And then, of course, that following season would be AI's last in Philly. All right, it is Thursday. Time for a little Throwback Thursday, brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. And really, new shirts coming out every day. I'm constantly getting emails from Ryan and the team, and it's just like, wow, these things are phenomenal. So go check them out. You won't be disappointed. All right, so this is technically will happen on Monday, but on December 20th, 1979, the Flyers broke the NHL record for consecutive unbeaten games when they won their 29th consecutive, breaking the Canadiens' record from 1977-78 of 28 consecutive. I guess they tied it on the 20th and broke it on the 22nd. Either way. So today we're going to throw it back and look at that Flyers streak where they won 35 straight, or they didn't win. They were unbeaten in 35 straight games. That still stands as the North American record. During that streak, they went 25-10. It started October 14th and they'll end it on January 6th. So think about that. Mid-October, it wasn't even, it was the early days of fall. And all the way into the middle of winter before the Flyers finally lost a game. They averaged almost 4.5 goals a game, only gave up slightly under 3. They came from behind 13 times during that streak. Reggie Leach led the Flyers in scoring during the streak with 25 goals. Rick McLeish with 21. And it ended on January. The last win was January 6th. And then the next night, January 7th, there was a 7-1 loss to the North Stars. Now, it's not the longest in the world. It's only the longest in North American history. And I really had to, dive deep into some research to find this out. The longest streak that I could find for a professional team, consecutive games unbeaten, we have to go to the Lincoln Red Imps, who have 88 straight games from 2009 to 2014 in the Gibraltar League in Europe. It's soccer, but the Gibraltar League in Europe, the Lincoln Red Imps won 88 consecutive games over a 5-year span. That also is tied with the UCLA Bruins. Now, this is college, but John Wooden's teams in the 60s and early 70s won 88 consecutive games and were just ridiculous before Notre Dame ended up beating them. But the Flyers, professional sports in North America, have the longest unbeaten streak with 35 consecutive games. Just outstanding. And they did not win the Stanley Cup that year. They did not win it. They got beat in the Stanley Cup Finals that year. Hard to believe that you go unbeaten for 35 games. But that just goes to show how the NHL was different back then. But that is today's Throwback Thursday. The Flyers' 35-game unbeaten streak, which set the NFL or NHL record at some point early next week. But they just were a complete dominant team throughout the late 70s. That is brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com. Use that promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. But yeah, the Lincoln Red Imps have the worldwide professional longest unbeaten streak, at least that I could find. So if you know of something else, hit me up, let me know. But like I said, I always try to give you the most accurate information. And from my research, and I was deep diving, man. I was looking at cricket leagues, rugby, you name it. I was looking at it, and the Gibraltar League in Europe is where I found that the Lincoln Red Imps. That does lead us to today's trivia question. Figured have a little bit of fun with winning streaks. Let's go to the NFL, and we're going to do this regular season only. Who has the longest regular season winning streak in NFL history? Anxious to see what guesses, because my top 3 guesses were wrong. So hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. answer the trivia question, go to the Discord channel, which is the first link in the description. Get anything else Philly sports related off your chest. Want to tell me that the Eagles are not ready to go on a run. The Eagles are ready to go on a run. You hate Brad Keller. You like Garcia. All that is fair game. Maybe you're a Brad Marsh fan. Hi, Mom. And you want to tell me how he's going to have a breakout season. Let's have some good Philly sports talk here on a Thursday. On this day in 2004, AI drops 54 as the Sixers beat the Bucks 116-97. 1998, the Eagles clinch a playoff spot, and then a few minutes later clinch the NFC East as the Jets beat the Giants to send the Eagles to the playoffs for the first time since the Dick Vermeil era. Flyers on this day in 1986 beat the Islanders 9-4. The old double hat trick. Dave Poulin and Tim Kerr both with hat tricks for the Flyers. Poulin also added an assist as well. And the Eagles win their second consecutive NFL championship on this day in 1949 behind strong running by Steve Van Buren and some great outstanding defensive and special teams play as Leo Scaladny. We're going to go with Scaladny here. And if I'm pronouncing that wrong, let me know. But Scaladny, that's who we're going with on this day in 1949. Don't forget to talk to someone today at work that you usually don't talk to. It's a holiday season. You never know what someone's going through. So just a quick, how you doing? How are things going? Talk about the weather, whatever you want to do. Little things like that can go a long way in making someone's day. I'll have more on the Eagles injury. We'll update you on how the Flyers do tonight in Buffalo, as well as any future coming down the pike Phillies moves. Like, who knows what they're doing? I don't know. I'm not overwhelmed yet with their off season, but we'll see. I think a lot's going to come down to these young guys, and I just have visions of Don Brown running through my head. Trying to be positive, though. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for December 18th, 2025. My name's Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Thursday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.